This week's message from the angels and the mother of creation is an absolutely gorgeous one, explaining to us that we were never meant to be separated from our higher selves, and explaining about what our experience on earth, how it became one of separation, and what we can do to get back to what we originally intended, which was to maintain our connection to our higher selves throughout our lives, and to use this world as an incredible creative laboratory, which it will become as we move into our incredible shift in consciousness that is coming. So they give us very specific steps that we can do right now to help us move in that direction. So welcome back, you guys. It is so great to be back with you guys. I'm so sorry I missed last week. I'm feeling much better, so thank you so much for your good wishes. And so for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. By that I mean I go into a deep meditative state or trance, and from that state I raise my awareness as high as I can go, and I stretch a little higher, and I connect, and then messages, healing, and information come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. And this week's message is it's beautiful, it's clear. I think you guys are going to absolutely love it. And I put together a summary at the end. The way I do the format is, for those of you who know, but for those who don't, I will play the original channeling, and then afterwards I will come back and I will break it down, and I will share with you guys, because there's often layers of meaning. There's a lot that they put into these messages, and you'll get so much more out of it when we break it down on the backside. And oh, by the way, super important, you guys, Soul Convergence starts January 18th. So if you've been waiting to join, those of you who are new to the group and don't know, Soul Convergence is it's our deepest healing experience. It is a commitment. It means really engaging deeply in the things that are really our greatest wounding, that come in the period that's hardest for us to access, like that birth. Really, it's actually from the womb up until age 7. And these are the patterns that we then play out in our life over and over and over and over again, right? Ad nauseum. And they can be really hard to identify and really hard to heal. And this process works like magic. It helps you to bring these up to the surface in a really gentle way while you're being held in this container. And you have the support. You'll be having your dreams analyzed by our Soul Convergence guides, helping you to see your progress through the program. And it is, even though it's a commitment and it's not an easy program, because you really are engaging with yourself in a meaningful way, it is way easier to deal with our karma like that than it is to actually live it in the real world. So that is a huge incentive to go and to make the commitment and to do this work for yourself, is because it will change your life. You'll come out of it feeling, the biggest thing is you'll feel more peace. The things that felt like obstacles, the places where you've been in your way, that you felt like this is just part of who I am, it's not, right? It's just our conditioning, and we can heal. We can feel more love. It is absolutely possible for you. And I am a testament to it. I have more love in my life than I ever have. And I didn't start out that way, I'll tell you. It has been a journey. So anyways, if you would like to join us, you can find out more. I will put the link here. I will put the link down below in the description box, and I hope to see you there. There is a limited number of spots, just so you know, just because we do offer, there's quite a bit of support that goes into the program, so we have a limitation on how many people we can have in it. So if you'd like to join, just saying that to make sure you don't wait, go ahead and join as soon as you can. All right, hope you guys enjoy the message.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Blessings, we are within. The unforeseen consequences of living the path of freedom, of being in the space of loving what is that all that is approachable, all that you would bear within the context of where you are, is in loving divine presence. The sensation of living apart from everything is a contextual phenomenon born from within. It is the sensation that you are having within the specter of a world torn apart from itself. In this new beginning, all things are questionable. All things arrive differently. And the freedom that you are beginning, that you are feeling, that is erupting from within you, calls to itself a new phenomenon of enjoying that freedom, of enjoying what is moving through you, of enjoying how you are finding reality. The coming times of transference within which your own freedoms are regifted, your own sensation of yourself as having been bound to a world of consequential forgetting becomes loosened, becomes alive again in the context of your own perception. You shall rein in those illogical conclusions you have been making relating to what is forlorn, downtrodden, and within the perspective of suffering. And you shall be born renewed into the freedom of spectacular expression. Within the context of your own housing, there is the benign presence of your own understanding that this world and what it offers has been bound to what is treasured, but is not yet excavated. There is this sensation that this world is on the precipice of a new understanding of itself. And you, not the benign being, you are the presentation of what it shall become. You are the new beginnings. You are the entryway. You are the forlorn but not forgotten new start the earth was always to be having. The sensation that you are lost has been brought to you, formed through you, not by the transfer of what is divine will, but by the mistaken identification with what has been the heaviness of this realm. There has been the forgotten self, the letting go of self, the separativeness of this realm has infused you with its own apparitions of forlorn and forgotten self. The truth of you, of how you are, has never been lost, has always been provided from above, from your perspective of divine height. This shall be returned to its rightful place, the crown of your own presentation. You shall be returned to yourself. This separated state, though not how it was intended, has formed within you a greater contextual framework for what is self. It has been useful, but it has ill prepared you for the presentation of a world of unification, of united self. It has formed within you a diatribe of longing, of separation, of ill will towards self. And only you know the parables of concentration, which can reunify that soul to self. Only you know the lessons untold, which must be combed through to draw into a greater harmony what is within you. The self as you are carries a towering height of suggestibility. You are as resolved into form a creature of potent force that is malleable, that can be changed, that can be augmented, that can be formed anew. You are creative power. You are the transference of divine light into form. You create what is formed from within your thoughts, which are suggestible, which take on the form of what surrounds you. You must answer back to the self call home that fortitude. Bring back into the shape of the now what is your strength, what is your presence, what is your divine will, and claim what forms from within you as the presence of your inner self, not as the light that shines from without, but from within. Claim for the self, for the soul, what is unification to your purpose for living, for the excavation of what lies within, not without. The external has pressed itself upon your interior vision. The outer world has formed against you a mission for itself to create havoc in your inner landscape. And the soul itself must revile that influence, reject those prescriptions, and re-gift yourself the truth of your own divine might, the truth of your heart, of your wholeness, the love that pours through you. Rejection of soul, rejection of self is the obstacle. The tornado of ill will that moves through your thoughts, undigestible, even amongst the truths that it would yield. There is so much shade against the starlight of your own expression. There must be within some upheld proposition that can support you against the intolerable orchestration of these movements. The soul cannot reflect itself when in dormancy. It must be awakened. It must be called forth into presence. It must dim the shade. It must shine its own light. It must call itself down again. It cannot be done for you, through you, to you, but from within you. The self as you are is starlight. You are made from love. You are created within the harmony of all presence and all things. And yet, the discourse of your internal thoughts is a rejection of all that is. And we would call to your abundant presence the knowledge of this. Become not the forsaken soul who is left behind in the tornado of illusion. Embrace instead the concentrated vow of your own perceptible admiration of soul and self. Call home again your divine presence. Bring to your soul the loving self that embraces what is. Take into account the wholeness of the experience that you are having. And within each moment, there is contained dark and light both. Within your soul, you contain light and shadow. And within that context, the illusion has made itself anchored. But you can now forsake that which has impressed itself upon you from the external. You can now dissolve the influence of that which has torn away the divinity of your own inner light, and allow the self, portray the self as one who is gifted by presence. Portray the self as one who holds within them all divinity, to shine and radiate into a world of multidimensional affability towards yourself. There can now be a reversal of thought, a change made within from the heart, from the spaciousness of your own acceptance, accepting what is. This is the path forward, accepting where you are. This is the gifting. Become and perceive within the moment, without regret, that all is well within. In the spaciousness, in the well of resolve that comes in the form and the perfume of a world without resistance. all emerges renewed. You need only stop the tornado of thought, which perpetrates against you such harms in a world that is ready to receive you.
All right, you guys. So beautiful, right? I think it's a beautiful message. Absolutely beautiful, inspiring. They're giving us very clear information about what to do and really describing the situation where we are. And it's doable. Like, it's very doable. Even though, like, this message is about our negative thinking and about how it's become like something that we have a hard time even noticing that we're doing it, and it's been impressed upon us, like forced upon us by our external world. Like, that's the illusion, right? We came down. Here's the message that I get: we came down into this world knowing that this is a context of separation, and we were always meant to be shining our light into the separation. We were never meant to succumb to the illusion. We were always meant to be maintaining our divine connection. But we got here, and our creative power is very easy to influence. And so we succumbed to that separation, and we became separated from ourselves, and we started down this tornado of illusion where we're constantly bombarding ourselves with negative thoughts about ourselves, which we are never supposed to have. So that was never the intention, but this is just what happened when we got here. So I kind of wrote down, like, and you're saying this is all coming through to me so clearly and so smoothly, amazingly, how simple and straightforward. Awesome. I love it. Okay, great. Very on point. You're saying, I love this message. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. So I wrote down, I did like my cliff notes today, just like my little summary of, like, I'll go through and kind of just like recap what I think the message is, and then we can go through it line by line. You're saying goosebumps. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Gail says, I love the sentence, stop the tornado of harm, which perpetuates a world of harm. Yes, right? Yeah. And it's amazing to hear it from them in this way. Like, it just, to me, it's like it's stuff that maybe we knew a little bit, but the way they bring it together and explain it, it just adds so much clarity. And I think it just inspires us and gives us the strength that we need strength to do this. This is not easy for us, and we need this strength. We need the inspiration. We really do. And the reminder. So here I wrote like it's kind of like the 9 steps in my cliff notes. Here's what I wrote that this is about. Then the first one is that the external context, this reality that we're in, this 3D density as we call it, that has hijacked our creative power. Like, that's the first point. The external was never meant to be this way. It hijacked our creative power when we got here as humans. So the number 2 is that the mistaken identification with the heaviness of this realm. So that's what's happened, is we have mistakenly identified with it because of the fact that we do contain light and shadow. In our shadow, we mistakenly identified with separation, right? And that was how we got kind of lost from ourselves when we got here. And that was never supposed to happen. So number 3 is we are very suggestible and easily influenced. So we are these creators. We're meant to be fluid and formless and work with our reality and create something new. But it's supposed to come from within us. So, and instead it's coming from outside of us, right? And that's affecting us, and we're creating more of what's outside of us. So they're saying number 3 is we are very suggestible and easily influenced. Number 4 is, we were never meant to feel lost from ourselves. So this is not how it's meant to be. We're meant to maintain our connection to our higher self. Number 5 is that this experience of separation, it has been useful, right? So it's happened, it's been useful, but it leaves us unprepared for unity, for unified consciousness, which is where we're headed in our new earth. Number 6 is the veil will loosen and our truths will return to us. So we are in the process. We're being bombarded with light. Like, oh my gosh, right? So much energy hitting the planet right now. And it is loosening the veil. So they're saying it will happen. Our truth will return to us. Number 7 is they say but we have to take back our light, right? We have to refocus our creative power on ourselves. So we have to take back our light, which is our creative ability, our creative power. We have to stop creating more of the separation that's outside of us and start creating more of the love that's inside of us. So, and then number 8 is we have to, that the obstacle is the rejection of soul and self, negative self-talk. That is the tornado of illusion. So number 9 is to do that, we have to, like the way that we do it is we have to allow that we are gifted by presence. In other words, recognize that we are an aspect of the divine, that we are that. And then we have to accept what is without regret. And so what that means, and they say when we do, everything will stop and become clear. So this is the magic of this message, is they're saying that when we accept, allow, release, which is what they've been telling us for the last 4 years, accept, allow, release, let go, right? All of this. It is when we stop the tornado of negative self-talk. It's a little bit like being on a merry-go-round. Right now we're on the merry-go-round of illusion, spinning around, and we can't really see the truth because there's so much dust kicked up in the air. Once we stop the tornado of negativity, which is if you walk down the street right now and listen to people's thoughts, if you were able to read people's minds, you would be shocked by the negativity that comes out of everybody's mind. Like if you even for yourself, if you sort of measured in any 5-minute period, in any hour, like how many positive thoughts do you have versus negative thoughts? And those negative thoughts are often about other people, about how they make us feel. They're often about doubting ourselves. They're often fears about what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. They are often ways in which we are dissatisfied with what is. And that is the key, right? Is that they stem from separation from our current reality, wanting to separate ourselves, which is what's outside of us, separation. We have taken that separation and brought it internal. And we have this constant diatribe of negativity where we are in the process of constantly separating ourselves from what is. And from that is from what is self, what is our reality, what is our family, what is our friends, our relationships. We are constantly telling ourselves negative things that create separation. And they say in order to stop it, all we have to do is accept what is. And when we do, when we stop the resistance is like a force that keeps it moving, right? It adds energy to that separation. So if we can just get to acceptance, that doesn't mean you have to like it. Like if you are currently maybe you're currently not well and you're sitting there like you're feeling crummy and you're like, I don't want to accept this. But if we do it, the end goal is not to stay where you are. The end goal is to create acceptance so we stop resisting. Resisting is energy. Resisting is like pulling on something and it brings more of it to us. So we have to get into the energy of acceptance, release our resistance, stop the tornado of negative thought. When we do, all the dust settles. And as that dust settles and all this light is hitting the planet, they say we will be released from it. That all of a sudden we will allow more divinity in. So this is the path. They're saying, and they say it in the message, this is the path. Stop the diatribe, stop the negativity. And the way we do it is yes, you can start make affirmations. Yeah, absolutely. Noticing our thoughts. When you notice a negative thought, choose a positive thought. Absolutely. But then you can do the proactive step as well, which is to get into acceptance with what is. To go internal and say, where am I in resistance to what is? What about my life don't I like? What about myself don't I like? And can I just accept what is? Can I be with myself and say, okay, this is what it is. And I will be okay with what is. I will accept it. I will stop fighting it. Right? That's the key. It's amazing because it's simple when you really think about it. It's hard emotionally because a lot of us are really bought into our resistance. A lot of us are really tied into that rejection. We fear that we don't want to be that. Whatever it is that we're fighting against, we don't want to be that. And if we accept it, we feel like we'll become that. And that's our worst fear. So we have to realize that if we accept it, that doesn't mean we become it. It means we clear the space so that we can become what we truly are, which is love. Yeah. Wow, you guys. Totally wow, right? Yeah. I'm loving the message. Loving the message. And you guys are saying we are part of Source God energy, the Big Bang, so to speak. We are not separate, but rather a part of. Yes, absolutely. And you're asked, and above you say, Ricky says, what about Jesus? Does he play a part? Jesus always plays a part. He is like the main ringleader of this whole shift in consciousness. So yes, 100%. And you may choose in your conversations to speak with Jesus. You may choose to speak with your angels. You may choose to speak with your higher self. But yeah, absolutely. And then and then you're saying where, I'm sorry, let me go down here, make sure I don't lose it. The negativity and polarization are off the charts. It's so true. Yeah. And Dawn says, we are the resistance to our own freedom. We can let go anytime, but it's a learning of how to do that as the construct feels that we need, like we need them. Yes. And Gail says, love this. Absolutely nothing can make me feel any happier than I am right now. I love it. I love it. That's a great affirmation. That is a really great affirmation. Loving this clarity, and it's getting a lot easier to toss that negative tornado aside. Awesome. You're saying this message is exactly what I've been getting from my higher self. Love it. Yeah. Crystal clear, says Patty. Yay. Rodney says, I pray the veil becomes so loose that we can easily pass through and back again as has been foretold. Yes. And then let's see. And where is that? Here we are. And you're saying, what about, isn't, so it's a whole question you're asking about who is Jesus and what is Jesus's role. And we are, so is Jesus God in human form? We are all God in human form. And Jesus came in, Yeshua, Jesus, he's spoken through me several times, and it's been amazing, absolutely amazing each time. And he is absolute compassion, absolute love. And so he has he as a consciousness has a very unique relationship to humanity, where he, like, I know there's so much scripture about the order of things and you have to go through this person to get to that person and get to that person. That's not what I choose to believe. I choose to believe that my connection with Source is direct, and that my relationship with Yeshua is direct, and that can he help us 100%. So if Yeshua speaks to you, then speak to Yeshua. But if that's not your gig, he's not the only access point. That you speak to your higher self, you speak to your source, you speak to your divinity. All that matters is that you're speaking to that higher consciousness, to that higher aspect of yourself, that you're reaching up, right? That's what matters. But yeah, absolutely. I love Yeshua. Love him. So hopefully that answers that question in a way. There's no real answer, right? We all have to have our own answer. Hopefully I've shared my answer to that question. Yeah. So shall we go? So how can we communicate with angels, with singing, or with sings, or, so absolutely. So if you want to communicate with your angels, the best way to do it is to speak out loud. Your angels are right there, but they need you to say what you need, say what you want out loud. And a lot of us, this is the one thing I say this often because there's confusion around it, is we often will ask our angels, tell me what to do. Like, what is my path? Just tell me, I just want to help. I want to serve. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And that is the one thing they can't do because we are meant to have free will and free choice. And we are the team captain. That we come down here on earth, we have a whole team of beings who are ready to help us, but we have to be the choosers. So you meant to just make a choice, and then they can swarm in to help you, and you say it out loud, speak to them. This is what I think I want to achieve. This is where I want to go. This is what I think I want. Recognize you can always change your mind, right? You start out on a path, and you ask for help with that path. And then they step in. And as you get more information, as you learn, you are absolutely free to change your mind. You're saying, okay, that was great. Now I want to adjust my wishes, adjust my what I'm trying to create to something else. So speak out loud. And don't put them on a pedestal. Remember, they're your dearest, truest, closest friend. So treat them like that. Yeah, treat them with love. Treat them like a dear friend. Don't put separation between you and them by putting them on a pedestal. Keep them, speak to them like you would your dearest friend. Yeah. And Bronson says he's on the board of directors. I love that. Yes, that's a great way to describe Yeshua, on the board of directors. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And then Ronnie says there's some older years that are excellent. Yeah, absolutely. About talking to your angels. Like starting in 2021 there's a whole slew of messages that came in starting in January of 2021 about how to talk to your angels and how to work with them, which is really cool. Yes. And Jashini, hello, is with us. Yay. Okay, great. I'm so glad you're here again, Jashini. Great. All right. So okay, you guys, let's go ahead and read through it paragraph by paragraph. You ready? So here is what they say. They say the first one, blessings we are within, the unforeseen consequences of living the path of freedom, of being in the space of loving what is that all that is approachable, all that you would bear within the context of where you are, is in loving divine presence. And I love they do a fun little play here where they're like the unforeseen consequences, which we normally think of as something bad, but here it's like obviously something really good. They're basically saying that, and this message tells us what the message is about, which they typically do in the first paragraph, is that they're asking us in this message, they are asking us to live the path of freedom, and we get to the path of freedom by loving what is. And this whole message is describing why that's true and telling us how to do it. That's the whole message. So they're asking us, they're saying, live the path of freedom by loving what is. And when you do, you are in loving divine presence. So that's the whole message in a nutshell, which is pretty awesome. All right, next paragraph. The sensation of living apart from everything is a contextual phenomenon born from within. It is the sensation that you are having within the specter of a world torn apart from itself. So they're saying that this whole concept that we're currently in, this 3D reality, which is separation, is the context that we are in. It's a contextual phenomenon, and we are bearing it internally. We took that external phenomenon and we took it inside, and we said, this is who I am. This is my experience, rather than coming into it and shining our light into separation, which is what we're meant to do, right? We instead took that external and said, oh, this is what I am. And they're saying that we are having within the specter of a world, it is the sensation that we are having. In other words, the way that we take it in is through feelings separation. So they say so much in every paragraph here, you guys. It is the sensation that you are having. So we experience it through emotion. Within the specter. Specter means, and this is one of the angel words of the day, it haunts or disturbs the mind. It is feared. So it's fear is the big thing. The specters, it's basically referring to the fact that separation is fear. So that within the specter of a world torn apart from itself. So this world, this reality, was a reality of separation. And when we came into it, we took it internal, and it now controls our feelings. And that's the reality that we're currently living in. All right, next paragraph. In this new beginning, all things are questionable. All things arrive differently. So in other words, that we are currently going through a phase of Earth evolution where lots of light is hitting the planet. And that light is giving us the opportunity to shake things up, to break us out of our complacency, to give us the support that we need, to begin to question that reality, right? And that things will start to arrive differently. So they're saying that we're being helped. We're being pushed in this direction already to begin to dislodge ourselves from that illusion. And they say, and the freedom that you are beginning, that you are feeling, that is erupting from within you, calls to itself a new phenomenon of enjoying that freedom, of enjoying what is moving through you, of enjoying how you are finding reality. So this is the beginning, you guys. This is what's happening now. And they're saying this is the consequence of all the support hitting the planet, right? That we're in the new beginning, and then even more so when the flash of light comes. And those of you who are new to my messages from the angels, the flash of light is the big one, right? There's lots of light hitting the planet, but there will be the big one that comes that the angels say we will look back on and say that is the moment that everything changed, an enormous event of light hitting the planet. Solar energy coming to the planet from our sun, or it could be from Betelgeuse. They were not specific, but it is from a sun. Yeah. And so they're saying, and I love here that they're talking about it, they're saying, and the freedom that you are beginning. It is a freedom to be ourselves, a freedom to express our light. That's what they're talking about here. Freedom to connect to our, to bring through our truth. That's the freedom we're after. And so we're in that right now, and it is calling to us as we're starting to have these whispers of light come through, and this support that's beginning to give us a little bit more wiggle room, and we're starting to loosen from the conditioning and the negativity, that we're beginning to enjoy our reality. That's the point, that we're beginning to find our freedom from inside of it. More light is coming through us. We're finding our freedom, and we are finding that we can begin to enjoy reality. So in other words, we can find that, and here's what this makes me think, is that why would you want to create or to be born into a 3D context that is based on separation originally? And we know that we came into it and we took on that separation and we experienced separation inside of us, and we became lost to ourselves, and we became negative, right? And we became filled with self-loathing and all this kind of stuff, which has been separation from ourselves. But that was never the goal. So what would be the goal? They say we were never meant to separate from our higher selves. We were never meant to do that, which is kind of shocking, actually, because we assume that that's just been the way it's meant to be, but it's not. That was, they're saying in here that that was not divine will. But so why would we have come? What would the experience be like if Earth is set up in a state of separation? It would be to come into this state of separation where, think of separation as the context of creation. That we think of separation as polarity, as people hating each other, as we hating ourselves. We think that is separation. That's just what we did with it as creators. We took that inside ourselves and we felt it as an emotion, and it became all this fear and hatred. But if we did not do that, if we came into a world that existed in separation, separation by itself is neutral. It's not negative or positive. It's polarity, which creates energy, right? It's two ends of a battery that are in relationship to one another. This is how creation happens. So if we came down originally as humans, if we created humanity embodied as humans originally, to come down, if we were not meant to experience separation as a soul, what we were meant to do is to come into this highly potent creative place where we could literally take our thoughts and make them physical. That's all we were meant to do. And that's what the new reality is going to be, right? It's super exciting. It's the idea that we will be put right with our relationship to this world, which is to come in as creators who are conscious, right? Who are bringing through our light and working with our reality in this really amazing way, rather than taking that separation and making that our internal landscape, which is what we actually did, right? Totally mind-blowing, mind-blowing, crazy, awesome, right? All right. So, but now they're saying we're starting to begin to loosen those bonds, loosen the illusion, and we're beginning to enjoy our reality more and more. And we will a whole lot more when the flash of light comes. All right, the next paragraph, they say, the coming times of transference within which your own freedoms are regifted, your own sensation of yourself as having been bound to a world of consequential forgetting becomes loosened, right? So this is saying it's happening. We're getting loosened from that we've been bound to this world of forgetting, to this separation from ourselves, and that is being loosened. We're going to be regifted our sensation of ourselves. So it says it becomes alive again in the context of your own perception. You shall rein in those illogical conclusions you've been making relating to what is forlorn, downtrodden, and within the perspective of suffering. So saying all of that is illogical conclusions, that we're going to let go of all of that. And they say, and you shall be born renewed into the freedom of spectacular expression. So that's what the new reality, the new earth will be, that spectacular expression of your divinity as a creator. Yeah, amazing. All right, next paragraph. And I highlighted these next two paragraphs. They say, within the context of your own housing, there is the benign presence of your own understanding, which means, in other words, benign means kind, gentle, no threat. So your benign presence of your own understanding. So there's a part of you that has always known this truth. It's been a benign, it's a benign understanding. It has been no threat. But then they say that this world and what it offers has been bound to what is treasured, but not yet excavated. So you have been bound to this world. You are treasured. You are a divine presence, but you have not yet been excavated, right? This world and what it offers has been bound to what is treasured, but not yet excavated. That has been our reality, right? We've been locked into a state of separation from our divinity. And so that has not yet been excavated and explored in this reality, our learning about ourselves as divine creators. And then they say, there is the sensation that this world is on the precipice of a new understanding of itself. And you, not the benign being, you are the presentation of what it shall become. So they say in the past, up until now, that creator self has been benign, has been non-threatening to the current status quo. Now we will threaten the status quo. Now we are no longer benign, right? You are the presentation of what it shall become. Right? And they say, you are the new beginning. You are the entryway. You are the forlorn but not forgotten new start the earth was always to be having. So again, they're saying this is how it's always. We were meant to be connected to our higher selves always. We were never meant to forget that. Even though they said that we used it is useful, but we were never meant to have that. We were always meant to stay connected to our divinity. So, and they say now going forward, we are going to be the ones bringing that truth back, bringing that back into and going through this Ascension, a lot of us are calling it shift in consciousness. We're going to be the ones doing it. All right, so then they say, the sensation that you are lost has been brought to you, formed through you, not by the transfer of what is divine will, but by the mistaken identification with what has been the heaviness of this realm. So this is where they're talking about how we got led astray. We mistakenly identified with the separation of the world. There has been the forgotten self, the letting go of self, the separativeness of this realm has infused you with its own apparitions of forlorn and forgotten self. Right? Just amazing, isn't it, you guys? Then they say the truth of you, of how you are, has never been lost, has always been provided from above, from your perspective of divine height. This shall be returned to its rightful place, the crown of your own presentation. You shall be returned to yourself. So this is really it. They're saying that we were always connected. We just couldn't feel it. We couldn't experience it. Our intuition has been broken, basically, from birth. And yes, we are all intuitive to some degree. We have the gut feelings. We have, flashes of insight. But it's like a channel that you can't tune very well. It's like a staticky radio is the way I would describe our intuition today. And that is not how it's meant to be. And that's what they're saying. We are meant to have a crystal clear connection to that divine aspect of ourselves. And they say, yeah, it's always been provided from above. And they say, but it will be returned to its rightful place, the crown, right? Our crown chakra of your presentation. You shall be returned to yourself. This separated state, though not how it was intended, has formed within you a greater contextual framework for what is self. So they're saying that even though they didn't mean it this way, even though we weren't meant to get down here and forget ourselves completely and get lost in the illusion of separation, they say that it was useful, that it did actually help us. They said that it gave us a greater contextual framework for what is self. So we really got to feel what am I versus what are you. So that's useful, they say. But it has ill prepared you for the presentation of a world of unification, of united self. It has formed within you a diatribe of longing, of separation, of ill will towards self. And a diatribe is like a constant refrain, like imagine like the nagging voice. That's you. That's me. That's all of us speaking to ourselves. A diatribe of longing, separation, of ill will towards ourselves. That is what our inner voice is saying, right? And only you know the parables of concentration, which can reunify that soul to self. So a parable is a simple story to illustrate moral or spiritual lessons. So it's basically what are the stories that we need to tell ourselves? Parables of concentration. So this is like a focused effort to retell our own story in a way that we can understand and heal the negative judgments we have about ourselves. That's what they're saying here, which is the work we do in soul convergence. We go back and collect all those aspects of self that that we're separated from, and we draw them back into our heart, and we reunify and create coherence with our field, so we can have that connection to our higher selves. So we try to heal separation. And so they say, only you know the parables of concentration. What are the things what they're saying here is only you know how you're most wounded, because you are the ones that have to read your own feelings. It all comes from our feelings, right? So they say, only you know the lessons untold, which must be combed through to draw into greater harmony what is within you. So it's really exploring, what are we in resistance to? What are we fighting against? What do we wish wasn't true about ourselves and about our lives? And about our experiences, about what we've said, done, thought, had, felt, all of it. What do we wish wasn't true? What do we wish we didn't have to go through? Or what do we wish was over? That is what we have to heal, what we have to integrate and accept. Yeah. So they go on to say, the self as you are carries a towering height of suggestibility. In other words, we're easily suggestible. Things can be impressed upon us and we take them on. And that's part of being a creator. That's part of the makeup of being super, super creative, which is what we are. They say you are, as resolved into form, a creature of potent force. that is malleable, that can be changed, that can be augmented, that can be formed anew. You are creative power. You are the transference of divine light into form. You create what is formed from within your thoughts, which are suggestible. And boy, do we know that. Think about that. Imagine, like, you know how, like, when you hear a song that's like a terrible song, and then it creates a mind worm and you cannot get it out of your head. Like, that is just, and I was just going to say one and now I won't, because I don't want to do that to you. But you know what I'm talking about. It's all happened to all of us, where you just can't get it out of your head. And that is how suggestible our thoughts are. That all you got to do is plant something in them and our thoughts will just run wild with it. And think about it, if somebody says something that lands on one of your fear areas, you have to consciously work not to think about it, you know? And so that is us. We are a tower of suggestibility. We take on stuff really easily. Our thoughts are how we create, and our thoughts are super suggestible. And that is the challenge. And that is why when we got here, we took on the separation that was outside of us as an internal experience, and we began to feel separated. Yeah. So they say you create what is formed from within your thoughts, which are suggestible, which take on the form of what surrounds you. So that's where we went wrong when we got here. And wrong is a loose word. It just means that I don't mean that it was, because they say it was useful, everything serves a purpose, but it wasn't how it was intended. It was not by divine will, which is amazing, you guys. Amazing that we were never meant to be separated from ourselves. Yeah. They go on to say, you must answer back to the self, call home that fortitude, bring back into the shape of the now what is your strength, what is your presence, what is your divine will, and claim what forms from within you as the presence of your inner self. So in other words, rather than letting what forms within you, letting it be the separation that's outside of us, letting it be the negativity that's outside, claim what forms within you as the presence of your inner self. So we are currently in the space where we're outside in. We need to go inside out. We need to start channeling our higher self, channeling love, and creating with that instead. And it's a conscious effort we have to make. And they say, not as the light that shines from without, but from within. And I love here that they're saying, not as the light that shines from without. What they're saying here is that everything is love. Even separation is love. Even what we think of as negative thoughts, it all comes from the divine. Therefore, it is just a different type of light. And I love that little thing they just slip in there, not as the light that shines from without, but from within. So, and that's because your light is higher vibe. You are brighter, you are shinier. They want your light to move through you directly and not this reverse that we've been doing, right? Claim for the self, for the soul, what is unification of your purpose for living, for the excavation of what lies within, not without, right? So it's all about, we are meant to be here to explore ourselves, as creators. Next paragraph, they say, the external has pressed itself upon your inner vision. The outer world has formed against you a mission for itself to create havoc in your inner landscape. And the soul itself must revile that influence. Revile means to criticize, right? To see the negative in it. Revile that influence. Reject those prescriptions and re-gift yourself the truth of your own divine might, the truth of your heart, the truth of your wholeness, the love that pours through you. So we need to see that what's going on is something we don't want, right? Get it out, let go of it, and focus instead on that love. Yeah. Rejection of soul, rejection of self is the obstacle, the tornado of ill will that moves through your thoughts. Undigestible even amongst the truths that it would yield. So they're saying that, it's undigestible, that we can't ever digest it. There's never going to be a part. If we continue on the pathway of feeling negative thoughts, it's not like we will get to a place where we will puzzle it out, where we will think our way to freedom. They're saying we can't. It's undigestible. That negativity creates more negativity. That the only way to get out of it is to stop the tornado of negative thinking, right? So that's important. That a lot of times we think if we could just figure our way out, we try to solve it by thinking, and saying that is not the path. Undigestible, even amongst the truths that it would yield. There is so much shade against the starlight of your own expression there must be within some upheld proposition that supports you against the intolerable orchestrations of these movements. They're saying that the force of your negative thinking, you are such a powerful creator that the force of your negativity is so strong that you cannot stand up to it unless there is something supporting you. You need to have energy coming from within you to push it out. In other words, you can't just be like, I'm gonna, like I said, the main thing is you can't solve it by thinking about it, by like puzzling through it and thinking it through. Yeah. And they say you can learn that way. And they do say that and even among the truths that it will yield truths, but it won't stop more negative ideas from coming. I think that's the key here, is that say you have negative thoughts, you think it through, you come to awareness, you feel better, but then right behind that will be another negative thought. So this is the key, I think, to understanding why this is important right now. They're not saying that it hasn't been useful. This period of separation has taught us about ourselves, and they acknowledge that. And it has taught us through the process of, okay, negative experience, negative thought. I reflect on that. I learn about myself, but then boom, right on the heels, another negative thought. What we are trying to change is the fact that it's always another thing. It's always another negative thought. We're trying to get to this space where we are living in a space of positivity and love, and we are no longer creating from the negative. This is about the shift in consciousness. Yeah. All right. And then they say there must be within some upheld proposition that supports you, right, against the intolerable orchestration of these movements. So to free us from that negative internalized perspective. The soul cannot reflect itself when in dormancy. It must be awakened. It must be called forth into presence. It must dim the shade. It must shine its own light. It must call itself down again. Yeah, so and they say it cannot be done for you, through you, to you, but from within you. So this is an internal process of reawakening our internal self, our internal soul. And we do it through, anyways, they go on here and they talk about what we can do to stop the negativity. And this is just so key, you guys. These next two paragraphs I highlighted, they say the self as you are is starlight. You are made from love. You are created within the harmony of all presence and all things. And yet the discourse of your internal thoughts is a rejection of all that is. And we would call to your abundant presence the knowledge of this. So, right? So you were born in harmony. That was the creation of all souls, was within harmony. And yet here we are taking on the illusion of separation and rejecting everything, which is amazing. And they want us to become aware of it. Become not the forsaken soul who was left behind in the tornado of illusion. Embrace instead the concentrated vow of your own perceptible admiration of soul and self. So we need to start loving ourselves big time. Really accepting the idea that we are divine and seeing ourselves as divine creators and loving that about ourselves. And they say, call home again your divine presence. Bring to your soul the loving self that embraces what is. And this is, you guys, this is the work of soul convergence. So come and join us. January 18th is when we start. Yeah. And I'll put links for that, you guys, down below so you guys can find it if you want to find out more. Take into account the wholeness of the experience that you are having. And within each moment, there is contained dark and light both. Within your soul, you contain light and shadow. And within that context, the illusion has made itself anchored. So in other words, we do have both light and dark inside of us. That is how we are creative. To be a creative being, you have to have both light and dark, because it is that separation and polarity that allows creation to happen. It is that idea that you have an X and a Y chromosome, that you have things that are different that can never be the same. And that separation allows for energy to move. It's just like you have to have, like, think about like a battery or how electricity moves. You have to have polarity in order for there to be electricity. Energy has to have a direction. It's directional. It has to move. And so we have to have, if everything is just one, then there's no movement. And without movement, there's no creation. So we have that in us. We have the light and the shade, as they're calling it. But they're saying what happened is we over-identified with the shade. We said, oh yeah, that's me. And we brought it in, and then it became us. Yeah. So then they say, where is it? I just lost my place. And And then where is it? Call home again, bring your soul, the loving self that embraces what is. Okay, become not yet. Embrace instead the concentrated vow of your own perceptible admiration of soul and self. Call home again your divine presence. Bring to soul the loving self that embraces what is. Take into account the wholeness of the experience that you are having. Here we are, of light and shadow. Sorry, now I'm caught up again. And within that context, the illusion has made itself anchored. But you can now forsake that which has impressed itself upon you from the external. You can now dissolve the influence of that which has torn away the divinity of your own inner light. And allow the self, portray the self as one who is gifted by presence. Portray the self as one who holds within them all divinity, to shine and radiate into a world of multidimensional affability toward yourself. Affability means friendly, good-natured, like where the world is happy to see you. That's the idea, is that we want to start changing our thoughts about ourselves to see ourselves as someone who is full of divinity, that we are a gift to the planet. And the world is excited. They're affable. The world is affable. In other words, it's friendly. It's good natured. It's like, hey, welcome. That's the earth saying, yeah, come and be your creator self. That's the new perspective we want to hold. So how do we get there? They say there can now be a reversal of thought, a change made from within the heart. So we cannot get there by puzzling through it with our head. It has to come from the heart, because it's about our feelings. Our feelings are the ones that are at issue, because our feelings are identifying with separation. And they say, from the spaciousness of your own acceptance, accepting what is, this is the path forward. Accepting where you are, this is the gifting. Become and perceive within the moment without regret that all is well within. And the key for this, the reason for this, is when we are in resistance, we are creating a dust storm of confusion. When we accept, we are no longer feeding the things that we're in resistance to. We're no longer feeding the separation, and the dust will settle. And all of a sudden, we will have clarity. We just have to set down our resistance. That's all we got to do, is stop resisting. And that doesn't mean you have to like it. That doesn't mean you have to like whatever's going on in your life that you don't like. You just have to not resist. You have to accept that everything has a purpose, everything is perfect, and trust that you don't have to stay there. We just have to not resist it. Yeah. And they go on to, in the spaciousness, in the well of resolve that comes in the form and the perfume of a world without resistance, all emerges renewed. In the form and perfume of a world without resistance, all emerges renewed. So remember, you are the creator. And there will be people who will hear that about not resisting. And they will say, that's just what the bad guys would say, because they want to take us to bad things. And they want us to not resist, And it's like, okay, you could read it that way, I suppose. But it doesn't make any sense to me. What makes sense to me is that we are such an impressive, amazing creative power that we have to rein in and begin to take control of our own creative apparatus. And as long as we are pointing our creative apparatus at separation and resistance is the method by which we activate it, we are creating more separation. And they're saying, stop doing that. They're saying, take your creative apparatus, and you cannot go immediately from resistance to loving, right? To creating with love. There has to be a moment, because it's like you have to reverse. If your car is going this direction and you want to go this direction, at some point you have to change the momentum. You have to turn around and you have to go the other way, right? And so there has to be a moment of stillness in between. And that moment of stillness is called acceptance. So that is what they're trying to get us to do. They're trying to get, and it's about us learning about ourselves as creators and beginning to take control of our creative power. Recognize how we're using it against ourselves, to stop doing that, take a pause so that we can then redirect it into creating what's positive and beautiful for ourselves. That's what they're trying to tell us to do, right? All emerges renewed. They say if we do that, you need only stop the tornado of thought which perpetrates against you such harms in a world that is ready to receive you. So they're saying the world is ready, right? There's enough light here now. There's enough energy here now that if we do this, we will notice an immediate change in our lives. We're just like, yes, yes, thank you, right? Like, so amazing, you guys. It's an incredible message. I'm so excited about this. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. The best I heard this week was Saint Germain. Stop dragging the past into your present when trying to utilize your creative power to manifest in future. Perfect. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I love it. And Don says the resistance is necessary for the learning and evolving for me. I don't like it, but I remind myself that that's the time when I find something else revealed. That's when the magic happens. Yes, I so agree. Philip says acceptance, absolutely. Rhonda says the Borg says resistance is futile. Totally. Hey, John, he says so wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you for your kind note, John. I appreciate it. I haven't been responding on my emails as much lately because it's been hard to read until everything gets healed up. But thank you. I really appreciate the good messages, you guys. I love how these messages evolve us to a deeper understanding and serve to expand our consciousness. The light codes are so strong in every channeled message. Yes, I'm so glad you feel them, Dawn. That is so awesome. And you're saying, I don't feel so alone. Oh, beautiful. Brian says, many of us are out here on feeling the same. Yep, that's exactly what we needed. Yes, exactly. And you're saying, perfect, thank you. So sorry you're missing some. Hopefully you can catch it in the recording. It'll be there for you. And yep, January 18 is when Soul Convergence starts again. Yep, thank you. And thank you, Wendy's here too. Thanks, Wendy. And then I've been conditioned to believe the external fixes the internal, but exact opposite is true. Seeking internal peace by external gratification only serves to make life be more of a struggle. The layer, oh, Don, genius, genius, genius. Let's repeat that. I love your comment. I have been conditioned to believe the external fixes the internal. That is so true about our society, right? That is what we're conditioned to believe, that if we just buy this one extra thing, or we find that one true love, or we, whatever, have children, or whatever we're supposed to do, buy a different house, that it will fix us. And he said, but the exact opposite is true. Seeking internal peace by external, and it just jumped, by external gratification only serves to make life be more of a struggle. The layering begins. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I so agree, you guys. That is, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they're trying to tell us, right? And so we get stuck in, and I think it really feeds into the consumerism of our world, which is the exact opposite of where we're meant to be going, which is going to be in harmony with the earth. So we're going to be much more conscious in the future about our relationship to earth and consumerism and all of it. And we will want different things, you guys. When we worry about, will that be painful? We will want different things. Different things will bring us joy. We will feel differently about it. So when we fear losing things, remember that we will be changed. And so we won't need the same things that we feel like we need now. Yeah, Anne says, this is magnificent. Such a confidence builder. Yes, I love to hear that. That's awesome. Fantastic. And then Joshua says, even the planets have to stop before they can go from retrograde to direct and back again. Yes, great point, Joshua. Exactly. There's a place when in astrology where something's going retrograde, like right now Mars is super retrograde for a while. And then it will station and then go direct. So that's when they station is the moment where it's in the process of, it's like it's still for a while as it's changing direction. Yeah, stillness equals acceptance. Yes, 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 Jeannie. Rodney says, to change directions, you must stop first and begin again in a new direction. Exactly. Louis says, so when we are in the energy of resistance, we manifest something we have to resist. Yes, exactly. Yeah, when we resist, what we resist persists, right? If we are fighting it, we're creating more of it. Yep, and think about that whenever you get mad at something and recognize if you're feeling anger, you're creating, like, it's not that anger is a bad emotion. Anger teaches us something. It shows us that whatever we are angry about is something inside of us that we are resisting. And that because in that environment that we're experiencing anger, we are some piece of that. Sometimes we're on the positive side, sometimes we're the perpetrator, sometimes we're the victim, but we are in there somewhere and we are fighting ourselves in that moment when we feel anger. So use it as a tool, but then don't let it control you, right? Yeah. And glad to see me feeling better. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Beautiful message of acceptance and compassion. And then thank you for being right here with us, doing it with us. You bet. Yeah, I am always in my own stuff. Happily, joyfully in my own stew of learning. Let our light shine. Yes. And Troy says, yes, you add energy to the resistance and manifest it further. Exactly. Bummer, I missed the message. Chris, sorry to hear it, but you'll hear it's going to be here. You can get the recording for sure. And says, everything is here for us. Acceptance is the key to understanding this. Exactly. Sometimes, where we go. Sometimes we are the bug. Sometimes we are the windshield. Totally. Freedom is letting go. Yep. Hey, Jean, she says, soul convergence is a channeled healing directly from the angels. Give this to yourself if you can, especially if you'd like a large dose of self-love. I did, and I wish it for everyone. Oh, thank you so much, Jean. You're so sweet. I love it. And Don says the feelings that we don't like call us to where we are not in alignment with ourselves. Exactly. And Donna says, I recently heard that the equinox has 3 days of darkness. Day before, day of, and the day after are all 3 shortest days. Just something to ponder. Oh, isn't that interesting? And then Andres, do angels read this messages for all of us? Yes, the messages are for all of us. Absolutely. The messages I channel, when I tune in for these messages, I specifically request messages for Friday Live. And I swear they're up there like all week long working on these things to get them ready for you guys. But yeah, these are messages designed for all of us. And you will notice this, that different people, it will land differently for different people. That one of the amazing things about the angels is that they have a collective force, which is for all of us, but then each of us have our own individual angels. So when you listen to these messages, sometimes the first time you hear it, you will hear one thing. And then when you listen to it later, and this happens all the time for people who are in our peace bathing community, people who are doing soul convergence, people will hear totally different things in the message. And that's because the angels are helping to direct your awareness to the things that you need right then. So you could do a healing that's in the program and then do it 2 days later, and you will hear something you didn't even hear the first 2 times you heard it. So it's amazing that way. So absolutely the messages are for all of us, but also know that as you receive the message, your angels are helping you, crafting the message specifically for you, which is really, really cool. Yeah. And Melinda says, I asked out loud for the angels to answer something through the message and receives. Oh, that's an awesome idea. Great way to set an intention, Melinda. I love that. That's a great idea. Yeah. And you're saying, I'm finding that while reading your book. Yes, Kate. So cool. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really cool idea. That's part of the reason in the book I made the bolded parts of the messages. My thought was that you could, even after you've done with the book, you could use it and just like page through it and let it land on something and kind of ask the angels, like, show me what I need today. Like use it like an oracle book, and see what comes forward and see how it relates to your life right now. I thought that would be a cool way to use it. Yeah. And Don says, yes, I love hearing different messages, and I'm called to recording again what is present for me. Yeah, it is. I think it just really makes it makes our own connections feel very, very alive, which they are, right? Yep. And Anne says, ask for a page number and it shows up. Oh, I love it. That's cool. All right, you guys, so fun to be back again with you guys this week. I'm so glad to be here with you. It just feels amazing. The energy that we share is it's palpable for me. I hope you feel it too. I love it. I love sharing these messages with you. They inspire me to no end. And I'm feeling tons of love for you. So I hope you have a phenomenal weekend, and I'll see you guys next Friday Live. Bye, you guys.